Welcome to The Explainer. Now, what if the absolute secret to effective college ministry isn't found in some brand new flashy strategy, but in a really old, established rhythm? Today, we're unpacking some profound daily practices found right in the Bible. We're going to look at how consistent daily rhythm literally shapes who we are, especially as we gear up to serve and lead others on campus. To get started, let's look right at our foundational text for this. In the Bible, Exodus 30, verses 7 through 8 lays out this exact command given to Aaron. Aaron must burn fragrant incense on the altar every morning when he tends the lamps. He must burn incense again when he lights the lamps at twilight, so incense will burn regularly before the Lord for the generations to come. This passage paints such a beautiful picture of what it means to be continually present before God, and it's actually going to serve as the anchor for everything we talk about today. So here is our roadmap. We're going to outline the tabernacle's big picture first to get our historical bearings. Then we'll walk step by step through the incense and basin, contrast these old rituals with Jesus, dive into the Reformed theological findings, and finally unpack exactly what this means for you as college students. All right, part 1, the tabernacle's big picture. Let's start with the historical context. Now, what's really fascinating here is that the tabernacle wasn't just about occasional, flashy pageantry. It was a steady, daily drumbeat. Every single day, without fail, two things happened. The lamps were tended and incense was burned. Morning and evening, like clockwork. The altar of incense was positioned incredibly close to God's presence, deliberately set up so the scent would completely fill the space. This daily, consistent rhythm of nearness to God was designed to shape his people over time. It was a deeply formative practice, meant to anchor their entire day. Moving right along to part 2. Step by step, the incense and basin. Let's break down how this actually worked. Before stepping into God's presence, the priests had to execute this incredibly precise, non-negotiable process. First, they had to wash the dust of the world off at the bronze basin. And listen, step 1 was not just some ceremonial decoration. The priests had to wash their hands and feet at the basin so that they would not die. It was a literal life and death requirement. You just couldn't walk into the unshielded presence of a holy God carrying the dirt of the world. Then, once washed, step 2 was to burn that exclusive fragrant incense at the altar, morning and evening. And there were absolutely no substitutes allowed on this altar. It was totally set apart for this one holy purpose. Which brings us to part 3, old rituals versus Jesus. Let's see how these historical practices point to a much greater reality. This is where it gets incredibly cool. The ancient tabernacle was essentially a physical shadow pointing toward an ultimate spiritual reality. In the Old Testament, you have Aaron doing this physical washing with water and a temporary daily burning of incense, but that shadow completely finds its fulfillment in the New Testament reality. Today, we don't need a bronze basin because Jesus provides the profound spiritual washing of our hearts, and we don't need Aaron to burn physical incense for us anymore because Jesus, acting as our great high priest, provides eternal intercession on our behalf. He perfectly fulfills every single shadow of the tabernacle. Let's dive into part 4, the Reformed theological findings. We're going to look at the core arguments through the lens of Reformed Calvinism. The absolute crucial point here is our total reliance on Christ. Human effort just cannot make our hands clean, and our prayers are only acceptable because they rise to God through Jesus' merit. First, as Hebrews 7:25 tells us, Jesus always lives to intercede for us. Your prayers don't reach God based on your own righteousness. Second, it's consistency over time that truly forms you spiritually. One huge emotional prayer session doesn't do what 1,000 ordinary, consistent mornings and evenings do in shaping a soul. And third, effective ministry absolutely requires a confessed, examined heart. Let's unpack that idea of incense a little bit more. In the Bible, incense represents prayer. It's meant to be constant, regular, and rising before God as this fragrant offering. But here's the main theological anchor. Your prayers are pleasing to God not because you're super eloquent, but because he receives them through his Son. Just like Aaron's incense had to be exactly the right kind, our prayers are only welcomed as fragrant because they come to the Father entirely through Jesus. And you simply cannot wash yourself. In the Bible, John 13, verse 8, Jesus is washing the disciples' feet, which is this beautiful ultimate fulfillment of that bronze basin from the tabernacle we talked about. Peter initially refuses, and Jesus replies, "Unless I wash you, you have no part with me." It's a pretty stark reminder. You don't wash yourself through good works or religious effort. You have to come to him totally empty-handed and let him wash the dust of the world off of you. Which brings us to our final section, part 5, implications for college students. Let's bring this right down to your daily life on campus.
So, if you're stepping into a campus ministry role, you must allow Him to wash you first. Why? Because ministry that flows from an unexamined heart quickly becomes about you rather than about Him. First, you need to establish a regular, personal, daily prayer rhythm, not just when you feel inspired, but morning and evening, consistently drawing near to God. Second, do not let other things, even really good, exciting campus ministry activities or meetings, replace the simple, essential practice of actually coming before God in prayer. And third, confess your sins. Deal with whatever is putting distance between you and His presence. The bronze basin isn't some heavy burden. It's an incredible gift that lets you come clean before you step out to serve.
That basin stands right between where you've been and where you're going. You really can't bypass it. So I want to leave you with this question to chew on. What do you need to bring to God and be washed from before you step into ministry on campus this fall? Let Him wash you and let your consistent daily prayers rise to Him like fragrant incense. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I really hope you take these profound rhythms to heart.